Welcome to the Deep Dive.
Great to be here.
Today, we're really plunging headfirst into a topic that's, well, it's not just crucial for our digital future, it touches pretty much every single person using technology today.
Absolutely. We're talking about AI and copyright.
Exactly. Generative AI is creating incredible things, text, images, music, even code. It's amazing stuff happening so fast.
It really is.
But here's the core tension, right? Where does this AI learn all this? And what happens when inevitably, that learning involves huge amounts of copyrighted material?
That's the million-dollar question. It's this massive challenge sitting right at the crossroads of tech, law, and ethics.
And we're basing our discussion today on a really comprehensive review, aren't we?
Yes, by Passetti and colleagues from 2025. They've meticulously analyzed the technical, legal, and ethical sides of generative AI.
Focusing specifically on the training data and copyright issues.
Precisely. It really hammers home that it's not just what AI makes, but how it's built. And maybe more importantly, whose creative work forms its foundation.
Okay, so our mission today, for you listening, is to cut through that complexity. We want to pull out the key insights.
Help you understand what's really at stake.
Yeah, and see how different places around the world are trying to get a handle on it.
The core questions being, how do we square AI's ability to create autonomously with the rights of creators whose work trained it?
And the big one, should those creators get paid? Should there be compensation?
That's right.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Where should we start? The sheer scale, maybe.
Let's do it. Just grasping the scale of AI training data. It's honestly mind-boggling.
It is.
I mean, imagine an AI model learning from, 3.2 trillion tokens of text? That's China's Skywork model.
And a token is roughly a word, sometimes less.
Exactly. Or Google's Palm 2, that was over 3.6 trillion tokens. It's almost unfathomable.
It's astounding. And this huge scale points to something researchers call scaling laws.
Right. Explain that a bit.
Well, essentially, AI performance just gets predictably better, sometimes dramatically better, the more data you feed it. Think of it like a student becoming incredibly good at spotting patterns in text just by reading an entire library over and over.
Gotcha. More data equals better performance.
Which creates this, insatiable demand for massive data sets. It's a fundamental driver in AI development right now.
And here's where it gets tricky, isn't it? A huge chunk of this data, as the research highlights, is web scraped.
Meaning
It's collected using automated software, bots basically, from publicly accessible websites.
which often host copyrighted material.
Exactly. We're talking huge data sets like C4, the colossal clean-crawled corpus, and Common Crawl. They just hoover up the web.
And there's a crucial legal point here that Passetti and the team make, something maybe not everyone gets.
What's that?
Copyright protects the expression, the literary or artistic form, not the underlying facts or information itself.
Okay, so the idea isn't protected, just how it's written or drawn.
Pretty much. But, and this is important, if you arrange those facts in an original way, like in a specific database structure, that organization can be protected.
Ah, I see. So the structure can have copyright.
Yes. And this distinction is vital for AI. Models can learn the facts from copyrighted stuff without infringing, technically.
But if they generate output that mirrors the original expression too closely,
Then you've got a problem, a potential violation. It's a really fine line they're walking.
understanding that is key. But then there's the opacity problem, right? What if we can't even figure out what the AI trained on?
That's another huge hurdle, the research points out. Many top AI labs, like OpenAI with GPT-4, are actually becoming less transparent.
Really? Less.
Yeah, about their model architecture, the hardware, the training methods, and crucially, the data they use.
Which makes verifying anything incredibly difficult.
Absolutely. And it's interesting to contrast that with, say, Meta.
Yeah.
With Llama and OpenChatKit, they initially tried for more openness.
Releasing source code and data sets, things like that.
Right, but even they ran into trouble. Brazil's data protection agency, the ANPD, actually suspended their data processing for AI training for a while. Because Meta apparently hadn't provided enough info about changes to its privacy policy linked to the AI training.
So even trying to be open isn't straightforward.
Definitely not. Regulatory hurdles are significant.
And what about tools meant to help, like LION? I heard there were issues there too.
Yeah, LAION is meant to help users identify problematic content in datasets, but it turned out Eleon's own data linked to illegal material and needed cleaning up.
Oh, wow.
Plus, if you, as a user, find something problematic via Eleon, you often have to go track down the original website host yourself to ask for removal. It's not simple.
Okay, so tying these technical and practical issues together, regulating AI training data seems incredibly complex institutionally.
Hugely. Things like disclosure, registration, licensing, auditing, they're all being discussed.
But no silver bullet.
Not really. Many ideas only solve part of the problem, or they might even create new issues. It's a real puzzle.
This whole conversation about data origins and transparency naturally brings us to the legal side.
Yep, the core legal question.
How are different countries actually dealing with this, trying to balance, AI innovation with protecting copyright, especially when these massive data sets are involved?
It's a global challenge, and the approaches really vary.
Why such different approaches?
Well, it helps to understand the two main traditions in copyright law. You've got the Anglo-American system, US, UK, which focuses heavily on economic rights, market value.
Okay.
Then there's the continental droit d'auteur, France, Germany, Brazil. That tradition puts more emphasis on moral rights, the author's personal connection to their work.
And that fundamental difference shapes how they view AI's use of copyrighted material.
Absolutely. It's vital for understanding the different regulatory paths being taken.
And we should remember, this isn't entirely new territory, is it?
Not at all. Technology always pushes copyright boundaries.
Right, think back to Napster and music sharing.
Or the Sony Betamax case with VCRs.
Even Google Books, digitizing millions of books.
Each time there's this tension. AI is just the latest, maybe the most complex iteration of that tension.
And policymakers have this tough job, balancing intellectual property with fundamental human rights.
Exactly, like Article 27 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. The right to participate in culture, enjoy art, share in scientific progress.
How does AI learning from our collective creative output fit with that? It's tricky.
Incredibly difficult.
Okay, let's take a quick tour. Where should we start? The U.S.
Makes sense. Their approach centers on fair use.
Which is famously flexible.
And famously unpredictable.
Right. It's in the U.S. Code, Section 107. 4 factors they look at.
Yep. Purpose and character of the use. Is it commercial, nonprofit, transformative? Nature of the copyrighted work. Amount used, how much, how important was the part taken, and the effect on the market for the original work.
So how does AI training stack up against those?
Well, the big argument for AI training being fair use often revolves around it being transformative. Meaning it uses the work for a totally different purpose, like extracting patterns or converting text to data for machine learning, rather than just showing the original work to people.
Okay, not reproducing it directly for consumption.
Exactly. And there's also this idea of non-expressive use, where the AI isn't reading it like a human would, just analyzing it computationally.
So if it doesn't reproduce the content directly, it might be fair use.
It might, but the legal lines are really blurry, very much still being decided by courts.
And this led to ideas like fair learning.
Right, proposed by Lemley and Casey. Their argument is basically using copyrighted works to teach an AI to help it learn patterns serves a fundamentally different purpose than the original work.
So it should be lawful.
That's their argument. An interesting attempt to adapt fair use.
But the big problem in the U.S. is the lack of predictability, right? It all depends on court cases.
That and Passetti et al. Really stresses the lack of transparency we talked about earlier.
How can you judge fair use if you don't know what data was used?
Precisely. It makes verifying any fair use claim incredibly hard in practice.
And we're seeing this battle play out now. OpenAI points to the Google Books case,
where digitizing books for search was found to be fair use.
But then you have things like the GitHub Copilot lawsuit,
alleging massive copyright infringement, Digital Millennium Copyright Act violations, for training on billions of lines of code without giving credit or following licenses. It's a major legal fight.
And lawmakers are stepping in, or trying to. California's got a new law coming.
Yeah, effective January 2026. It will require AI developers selling or licensing in California to disclose where their training data came from.
Including copyrighted material or personal info.
Yes, it's a potentially big step towards more accountability in the U.S. context. Really interesting development.
Okay, let's hop across the Atlantic. The European Union. Very different approach.
Very different. Much more rules-based, more preventive, you could say. Less reliant on court cases after the fact.
How does that work in practice?
Well, their big piece of legislation is the copyright in the Digital Single Market Directive, the CDSM.
Right.
And Articles 3 and 4 specifically create exceptions for text and data mining, or TDM. Article 5 covers temporary copies too.
So they explicitly allow using copyrighted works for training and research.
Yes, within certain limits defined in the law. It's a clear, sort of upfront permission structure, unlike the U.S. case-by-case approach.
Was that controversial?
It was definitely seen as a compromise. And there are still concerns. French lawmakers, for instance, are already pushing for another update to the EU copyright directive just for generative AI.
Things move fast.
Incredibly fast. But the EU AI Act also adds another layer.
The big new AI regulation package.
Exactly. And for generative AI models, what they call foundation models, it imposes a new duty.
Which is?
They have to document and make publicly available a sufficiently detailed summary of the use of training data protected by copyright law.
Ah, so mandatory transparency. That's a key difference from the U.S.
A major difference. It's central to the EU's whole strategy for governing AI.
Okay, fascinating contrast. What about Japan? Their approach seems unique too.
Yeah, Japan's particularly interesting because their framework seems quite permissive towards TDM, really prioritizing tech development.
How so?
Well, Article 34 of their Copyright Act allows using copyrighted works for data analysis, testing, computation.
Pretty broad.
Very broad, but with a key condition. The use must not be for personally enjoying the thoughts or feelings expressed in the work.
The non-enjoyment requirement, that's different.
Very different. And then Article 47.5 adds to that, allowing minor uses that are incidental to computer processing.
So taken together, that makes Japan's TDM exception one of the world's broadest for AI training.
Arguably, yes. It allows a lot of use without needing permission, as long as it fits that non-enjoyment criterion.
Is it a totally free pass, though?
Not entirely. There's important nuance. That non-enjoyment rule is key, and the use also mustn't unduly impact the interests of the copyright holder.
Meaning?
Well, the Japan Copyright Office clarified this. For example, it wouldn't apply if you train an AI on data specifically to generate very similar works that directly compete with the original market. Or if licenses for data analysis are already available and the rights holder has tried to block scraping technically. So there are still limits, but it's generally very innovation-friendly.
Got it. Okay, one more stop. Brazil. Described as hybrid and transitional. What does that mean?
It means Brazil's framework is kind of a blend. It has that civil law, droit d'auteur tradition we mentioned.
Like France and Germany.
Right. But it's also clearly influenced by both EU rules and US concepts like fair use. It's still evolving.
What's the current situation?
Well, their main copyright law is quite old, from 1998. Its exceptions are pretty limited and don't really cover modern needs like broad educational use or scientific data sharing very well.
Playing catch-up, like many places.
Exactly, which is why there's this significant proposed update, Bill 2338 of 2023.
And what would that do?
Article 42 is the key part. It proposes that automated use of works extraction, reproduction, storage, transformation specifically for TDM in AI development would not count as copyright infringement.
Wow, that sounds like a big shift. Similar to the EU's TDM exception.
Similar in goal, but with specific conditions. The use can't be just for displaying the work. It must be limited to what's necessary. It shouldn't harm the creator's economic interests unfairly, and it can't compete with how the work is normally sold or used.
Okay, quite a few conditions.
And importantly, this proposed exception is specifically aimed at public interest bodies, research groups, journalists, museums, archives, libraries.
Not necessarily for purely commercial AI developers, then.
That seems to be the focus, yes. It's trying to balance copyright with this idea of data being a common good, especially for research and culture. You can definitely see echoes of fair use concepts in there.
Okay, so we've seen these different legal approaches. But beyond just following the law, there's the whole ethical dimension, right?
Absolutely. How do we make sure AI is developed responsibly, fairly?
What does that mean in practice? Ethical AI governance.
It means consciously embedding principles like, preventing harm, ensuring fairness, accountability, respecting fundamental rights, doing that throughout the entire AI lifecycle.
From design to deployment.
Exactly. It's not just about avoiding bad outcomes, but actively designing systems that contribute positively. Passetti et al. Talk about contributing positively to the infosphere, our shared digital environment.
And transparency seems absolutely central to the ethical side, too.
Crucial. Why? For accountability, knowing who built it, how. for understanding what an AI can and can't do reliably, for spotting biases baked into the data or model.
And for science, right? Reproducibility.
Yes, for scientific rigor. Frameworks like clear documentation are trying to standardize how we document everything, from data sets to models, to promote that transparency.
Yet, as you said, many big players are not being transparent.
Right. The research really highlights this continuing lack of disclosure about copyrighted training data, the hardware used, how models are tested.
And more transparency would help clarify copyright issues too.
Definitely, especially around things like fair use. How can we assess transformation if we don't know what we in?
This leads right into that tricky, often heated question of ethical compensation.
Yeah. If these AI systems are making huge amounts of money,
Shouldn't the creators whose work basically fuels them get a piece of the pie? It feels like a basic fairness question.
it really does, and the research suggests an important ethical line. Maybe non-commercial uses, pure research, education, preserving culture could justify flexible or even no compensation.
Okay.
But commercial exploitation, where AI is generating real economic value integrated into products sold as services, that ethically seems to demand fair payment.
Like royalties in music or broadcasting.
Exactly. We have models for this. Royalties get paid based on use, even when the original work is just an input for something new.
So what could solutions look like? Collective management organizations, CMOs?
That's one idea. Like music rights societies, they could negotiate licenses for using works in training data and distribute royalties back to creators.
Or maybe statutory licensing.
Right, where AI developers pay standardized fees set by law for using copyrighted material. Similar systems exist in broadcasting and music. These are definitely options being talked about.
And it shows there's real pressure building for this kind of fairness. That U.S. bill, H.R. 7913.
The Generative AI Copyright Disclosure Act. Yes, it proposes making developers tell the U.S. Copyright Office which copyrighted works they use to build their AI.
That's a direct legislative push for accountability.
It certainly reflects a growing societal demand for more equitable AI governance.
But it's controversial, right?
Very. Artists groups tend to love it finally, recognition and a path to payment. But many in the tech industry say it's completely impractical.
Why?
They argue it's just impossible to list every single source in these unimaginably vast, constantly changing data sets. A technical nightmare, they say, so big disagreement there.
Beyond laws and payment, are there practical things developers can do now? Best practices?
Yes, Passetti et al. Discuss some, like
Okay.
deduplication of training data.
Getting rid of identical copies.
Exactly. It reduces the chance of spitting out copyrighted text verbatim, helps with privacy, security, and even cuts down computing costs.
That makes sense. What else?
A really clear one is excluding works with watermarks from training sets unless you have explicit permission.
Because a watermark signals copyright.
Right. It's a clear sign the creator asserts rights and likely wants licensing, not free scraping. Ignoring watermarks is a big red flag.
And this loops back to that broader idea you mentioned, data as a common good.
Yeah, thinking about these massive data sets and even the models built on them as shared resources, how do we govern them sustainably and equitably?
Making sure creators and communities have a say.
Exactly. Active participation is key to ensuring these powerful technologies benefit everyone, not just a few companies.
Okay, let's try and bring this all together. So what does this all mean for you listening?
Well, I think this deep dive really shows this urgent global need to find a balance.
A balance between encouraging amazing AI innovation
And protecting creators, promoting fairness, social justice in this new AI-driven economy.
and it seems clear that updating copyright laws, pushing for much greater transparency, and seriously considering fair compensation models are all crucial pieces of that puzzle.
Absolutely. But maybe the final thought for you is that the challenge isn't just about legal tweaks or technical fixes.
What is it about then?
It's fundamentally about designing an AI future that genuinely respects human dignity, human creativity, and ensuring that the incredible value generated from our collective knowledge
From all that data.
is shared fairly. It should foster collective well-being, not just concentrate wealth and power and make existing inequalities even worse.
That's a powerful thought to end on. We really hope this discussion encourages you to keep thinking about these incredibly complex issues.
Yeah, maybe think about what it means for your own work if you're a creator, or just how you interact with AI every day.
It affects us all. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive.
Thanks for listening.